All right, shalom, shalom. Before I get started, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahashim, YAHAWAHSHI, Bahashim, Rakakadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders that I learned the truth from, the men at GMS and the brethren with the like-minded doctrine. It's the brother Bakalah Wallam, here with another hopeful, edifying lesson to the elect body of Yahawah, Bahashim, YAHAWAHSHI. So this lesson right here is going to be entitled, The Spirit of Egypt, or the Spirit of Egypt, the American spirit shall fail in the midst thereof, pursuant to Isaiah the 19th chapter, right? Because we don't get the understanding of what this American spirit is, and pursuant to the Revelations, the 11th chapter and the 8th verse. Babylon the Great, that great city, which Donald Trump had made a phrase to make America great again, which we know that great city is Babylon the Great. That great city is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, Salakia, which is Babylon the Great. So that great city, pursuant to Revelations, the 11th chapter and the 8th verse, which is called spiritually Sodom and Egypt. So that's that spirit of Egypt, or the American spirit shall fail in the midst thereof. So we don't get the understanding of what that spirit means, right? This is an article that reads, the American spirit. What does it mean? It says a dozen years after the opening of the institution that would become the National World War II Museum, President and CEO Nick Mueller spoke to a Junior Achievement Hall of Fame banquet on the American spirit. What does it mean? So I'm not going to read a lot of this article. I'm going to read partial of it, some of it because it's pretty lengthy. So I'm going to just jump down to this portion of it, right? I'm going to start here. It says, let's take a look for evidence of this American spirit. When it has manifests itself in our country's history, motivating us collectively and as individuals. We don't have to look back too far to 9/11, 2001, when America was subject to a sneak kamikaze attack on the Twin Towers. We all remember the shock, the fear, the anger, and then the overwhelming sense of national unity. So that's a point right there. It says national unity, which is what it says in Mark, the 3rd chapter, in the 25th verse, which I'm gonna grab that right quick, right? Or I might just come back to that, unity, because they was united. The America united. They wanted to band together against this they called this terrorist attack that happened in 9/11. So it calls the people to unite and fight against terror, right? Which we all know the truth about that with the Twin Towers and Tower 7, and how the whole real events of that. And I'm not going to go into the details of it, but we know it was a government inside job. But nonetheless, it supposed to unify the people. It says a common sense of the American spirit brought us together against a new enemy that attacked us with the intent of undermining our system of beliefs, our economic and democratic way of life. We were severely tested in that moment. Coincidentally, a month later, Stephen Ambrose and I, together with our chairman, Boise Berliner, were getting ready for a press conference on the museum's decision to establish a new center for the study of American spirit. In this moment, the national trial, Stephen and his son Hugh published an opted piece in the Times Picayune, which is that, if I'm pronouncing it right, that's a newspaper, Picayune, the Times Picayune, recalling an episode from the day after the Japanese attack at Pearl Harbor. The piece started this way, which we also know that there's a motto about Pearl Harbor. The attack on Pearl Harbor is what? That we'll never forget. So that's one of their mottos on the attack of Pearl Harbor, which Esau Edom is a hypocrite, because anytime something happened, someone else does anything, he always bring back their history or criminal history if they have one, which he's a hypocrite, because whenever it's whenever his past come up, and it reflects what he does even to this day, they want to say is it's a long time ago, forget about it, it's in the past. So that's what they do. But they got a way of using people's past history to go against them. So on December I'm gonna read on. It says, on December the 8th, 1941, a large group of Navajo Indians saddled their horses, loaded their rifles, and rode off their reservations to the nearest Army recruiting center. They told the surprised recruiting officer that they were ready not just to enlist, but to start fighting that very day. Their country had been attacked. They would go to war. So the Navajos, if I'm not mistaken, they are part of the tribe of Gad. That which is the Northern Kingdom. Nonetheless, it's the Northern Kingdom. I think that Navajo Indians are the tribe of Gad, make up the tribe of Gad, if I'm not mistaken, right? But they tried to enlist in the army, right? I'm gonna read on. It says Stephen and Hugh used this incident to offer a telling illustration of the American spirit, how it manifests itself, and what it means. These Native Americans had not been treated well by their government. And who was the government ran by? The government is ran by Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, which they was not treated by Esau Edom, right? By these Native Americans had not been treated well by their government, by American society at large. Their culture and their language has been under attack, marginalized, discriminated against for many years. Their opportunities in education and work were few. So that's Esau Edom in his unrighteous decrees, man. Which he made Esau Edom, this government that made a lot of treaties with the Native Americans here, but Esau Edom broke every last treaty, because the scripture said, "Never trust our enemy." Like what was that? Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, the 10th chapter, and the 11th and the 12th verse. It says, "Never trust our enemy." So Esau Edom is the devil, and devil means deceiver. You're supposed to trust him, and according to the Bible, you don't supposed to make any covenant with the heathen. We weren't supposed to make any type of agreements with the heathens. So as I'm gonna read on, it says, but even these Navajo, in their hard scrambled existence, had a sense of the American ideal, the promise of individual rights, the opportunity for a good life as pursued first by our Puritan forefathers, which that's bullshit. The Puritans, they rape, rob, and murder in the name of Christianity. They used the Bible to rape, rob, and murder in the name of Christianity, man. So that and they did that to who? None other than the so-called Native Americans, man, and also the Southern tribe too, what makes up the blacks, Seminole Indians, and Haitians. So so that's that American spirit, which is what I'm gonna read it back, right? It says, but even these Navajo in their hard scramble existence had a sense of the American ideal, the promise of individual rights, of opportunity for a good life as pursued, and an opportunity for good life. So what? Individual rights and opportunity for a good life. That's that American spirit, right? As pursued first by our Puritan forefathers, then by this country's founding fathers, and as spelled out in the Bill of Rights. So that's that American spirit, right? The American Constitution, the Bill of Rights is that American spirit, right? Which we are seeing that failed in the midst of Babylon. So I'm gonna read on. It says, in 1941, these Native Americans knew this promise, this idea, and their country too now was under attack. So they joined millions of other Americans to fight Japan, Germany, and faraway places. In fact, the Navajo code talkers became a legendary weapon in our World War II military arsenal, for they were able to speak openly over the radio in the field, confident that the enemy would never crack their language. The Navajo reflected the common sentiment of the day: we are all in this together. So that's why Esau Edom promotes, man. Whenever his ass is on the line, he want to unite everybody against a common enemy. Just like he was saying about what Ronald Reagan made that statement that if we had a alien invasion, that we are all unite as one people. You know, that's Esau Edom, man. That's what he do, the devil, man. It was that one world government, the new world order. That's what they're trying to establish today. We are all in this together. That same sentiment, which that reflecting on the book of Maccabees too, right? And also the Tower of Babel, right? So reading on, it says, in these selfless and their selfless acts spoke to the enduring American spirit, the bright connecting thread in the fabric of our democracy. This spirit is something difficult to define or to qualify, but it holds great power, and you know it when you see it. Our country would never have survived or prospered without this spirit. In fact, it would have survived. In fact, it wouldn't have survived its earlier days. But there was, but there, Salakia, but where did this spirit come from? And what makes it so special that Americans always feel it in moments of great crisis, challenge, challenges that test our ideals? What walk with me briefly back in time as I recall a few great individuals who gave birth to this country, men whose ideals and actions lit the flame of the American spirit. So that's what it's going to go into the so-called founding fathers. So we understand what the American spirit is, that American dream, right? That's exactly what it is a dream. And we see that dream crumbling, or that spirit, American spirit, is crumbling right before our eyes, right? So I'm gonna jump down. Also, I want to get this. I want to get this portion of the article, and it says right here at the top. It says America's spirit. Its defense of freedom in many areas, in speech, in choice of religion, in politics, and in business. It has made. I mean, and in politics and in business, has made it a beacon for people around the world. This was so in the 1970s 1800, it's like the 1700s, 1800s, and the 1900s, and it remains so today. The quest for freedom and justice for all Americans has often been halted or delayed, as in the abolition of slavery, in the acknowledgement of poor treatment of the Native Americans, and in securing of full civil rights for people of color and women. So we also still see these issues today. You know, we also like this Juneteenth that just passed, right? That's we all know that um what's it called? The Emancipation Proclamation. That word emancipation means transfer of property. So you would never, just pursuing the Baruch, the third chapter, we are in captivity even to this day. And the Emancipation Proclamation didn't freed you from being a slave, because the 13th Amendment confirms that someone can be put into slavery if they are convicted of a crime. So slavery still exists today. That's why they have these state jails and prisons and federal prisons, which those people in there are slaves. You know, and it's filled with what? The so-called Hispanic and Native Americans and Latinos. That's who it's filled with. So and we're still having these issues today. Um Full civil rights for people of color. You know, the poor treatment of the Native Americans, that's still today, which was it that Jeremiah 50th, right? 50th chapter. So I'm not trying to get off subject, but I want to grab this scripture real quick. Jeremiah 50 and 16. It says, Salakia, that's what I want. No, that ain't what I want, Salakia. Jeremiah 50 and 33. I'm gonna come back to that. Jeremiah 50 and 33. It says, "Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel, which is the northern tribe, the so-called Hispanics and Native Americans, and the children of Judah, which is the southern tribe, is the so-called blacks, Haitians, and Semio Indians, um, were oppressed together, and all that took them captive have held them fast, and they refused to let them go." So we were so oppressed, what, in the land of Egypt, like which the scriptures, Deuteronomy 28:68 says the Most High was going to bring us back into Egypt again through ships, and we was oppressed in the land of Babylon, or the spirit of Egypt, which contains the spirit of Egypt, which that Egypt means the house of bondage, or means slavery. That's all. Egypt means slavery, pursuant to Exodus the 20th chapter in the second verse, that Egypt means the house of bondage, which means slavery. So we was oppressed in the house of bondage on Babylon the Great, aka America, which has the spirit of Egypt, the transatlantic slave trade. So that's that house of bondage. So we was oppressed together. What you just said in that article, right? That the Native Americans was being oppressed. Nonetheless, they still went to the army recruiter offices, wanting to fight for this country, right? For this American dream of individual rights and pursuit. What the scripture, what it says in the Constitution: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Right? That's basically sums up the Constitution, man, or the Declaration of Independence, or the Bill of Rights. So that's that life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, which the Native Americans thought they was a part of, and Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, have the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans as three-fifths of a man. You know, we are not considered even human according to his law, man. So, you know, that's that devil, man. So, but nonetheless, the Native Americans, you know, they wanted to fight for this American dream. So that's exactly what it means. Which I also want to get to. I have this video here. I'm gonna show the hypocrisy of Esau Edom, right? I got this video here. It says Biden calls out Clarence Thomas for suggesting the court should reconsider same-sex marriage. And we know Clarence Thomas is a so-called black man, so he's speaking against this guy, you know. And like I said, man, they make mockery of these so-called black people that speak on the behalf of this government. You know, not knowing that they really don't care. Esau Edom, a proclaimed white man, doesn't care about the so-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans. Even you that's cleaved unto him, that hand joined in hand. He doesn't care about you anyway. You taking a rap or taking a fall or taking the heat for the doings of your president or to the doings of the Edomites. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this video. I'm gonna bring out some scriptures.
My administration will remain vigilant as the implications of this decision play out. I've warned about how this decision risks the broader right to privacy for everyone. That's because Roe...
So he said the right to privacy, right?
I've warned about how this decision risks the broader right to privacy for everyone. That's because Roe recognized the fundamental right to privacy.
So he said Roe recognized the fundamental right to privacy, right? Which we don't have that right, man. That's that American spirit, or the spirit of Egypt falling in the midst thereof, right? Because here, right, this article here, I got this NSA spying, right, which I think it started after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the bombing of the so-called terrorist attack on the 9/11, right? That's when this NSA spying network began, when George Bush was spying the people, right? And I'm gonna read this, right? It says NSA spying Electronic Frontier Foundation. It says news report in December 2005 first revealed that the National Security Agency, NSA, has been intercepting Americans' phone calls and the internet communications. So they've been intercepting Americans' phone calls, their phone calls and internet communication, man. So what is that? Like your emails, your phone calls, your text messages. They are monitoring and intercepting these things from the American people. So what right to privacy? You don't have a right to privacy. I'm gonna read this too. Does the NSA still spy on U.S. citizens? It says an extensive surveillance program first revealed by former National Security Agency contractor Edward Snowden in 2013 continues to operate with no judicial or limited congressional oversight, despite its potential to capture Americans' communications. A member of a privacy watchdog agency said in a statement released. So yeah, they still doing it. They still monitoring people phone calls, you know. I did a video on that also. Monitoring people phone calls, on emails, they monitoring that. If they want to, they can gather your phone calls, text messages, emails, and all that, you know. In the efforts of whatever they want to say, security, national security, or whatever they trying to say. So you don't have a right to privacy, like what this guy's saying. You don't have a right to privacy.
About how this decision risks the broader right to privacy for everyone. That's because Roe recognized the fundamental right to privacy. that has served as a basis for so many more rights that we've come to take for granted.
He said there's so many rights that Americans take for granted. So basically, he's saying like you have your rights are intact, which we, the so-called blacks, like I said, you 3/5 of a man. If you're a so-called black, Hispanic, and Native American, he labeled you as 3/5 of 3/5 of a man under his constitution, under his laws, his unrighteous decrees. So he doesn't even look at the so-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans as a man, a full man. So he doesn't even that today. These American people are fooled by thinking they have rights. They don't have any rights.
In the fabric of this country, the right to make the best decisions for your health.
And that too, he said the right to make the best decision for your health. Which that's a lie. The right to make the best decision for your health when they have this mandatory, on snake venom that you got to get, which caused the country to stop, this whole C-19 thing. You said you have the right to freedom of choice of your health, which is bullshit. Because if you say you want to do a natural remedy, herbal remedy, they say that's not sufficient. You have to get their medication, which is that snake venom. That's their solution. You gotta take their solution. You don't have a right to choice of a right to a healthy choice or whatever he says. Let me bring it back.
Many more rights that we've come to take for granted, that are ingrained in the fabric of this country. The right to make the best decisions for your health.
So I say these rights was in the grain of this country, the right to make the best decisions for your health, which that's a lie because they making this mandatory thing. He said these rights was ingrained in the fabric of this country, the same thing that article said. The article said the same thing, which is that the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, the Bill of Rights, basically.
The right to use birth control, a married couple in the privacy of their bedroom, for God's sake. The right to marry the person you love. Justice Thomas said as much today. He explicitly called to reconsider the right of marriage equality, the right of couples to make their choices on contraception. This is extreme and dangerous path the court is now taking us on.
See he's going against this guy, right? Clarence Thomas, with the so-called black man, right? But that's what Esau and Edom does, right? He's contrary to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Heavenly Father. So this country was supposedly founded upon the basis of the Bible. Christianity, but they have nothing to do with Christianity, which is that's why I'm gonna go back to I'm gonna go to Psalms, right? The book of Psalms, chapter 50, verse 16. And it says, but unto the wicked, the wicked is pursuing in Malachi, the 1st chapter, the 4th verse, Esau, Edom. But unto the wicked, God saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth, since thou hast hated instruction, Salakia, seeing thou hateth instruction, and casteth my words behind thee, which is the point, right? So that's what Esau Edom does. They try to say this country is founded off the Bible, the concept of the Bible, but they cast it behind. You just seen that. He's going against this dude Clarence Thomas, about reconsidering that marriage situation with male, woman and woman, which the scripture clearly says, man shall not lie with mankind as he do with womankind. Roughly paraphrasing. So you don't supposed to do that, man. But this he just blatantly said that that why are you considering why this is a basically trying to say this is a fundamental right, which he's violating every right of these people, the right to privacy, the right to health, to pursue a healthy life, which that's all bogus, man. But your right to freedom of choice of health, or however he said it, which these issues are happening today, right? The freedom of speech is they censoring the internet, the social media. Your First Amendment right is being attacked by this government. Freedom of speech censoring social media. The Second Amendment right, gun rights are being amended. Freedom of choice, which that's that whole thing. When he's talking about freedom of health, freedom to a healthy choice, or something. However he said it, but that's all bogus. Because all these things are being attacked. This your Bill of Rights, your Constitution is being attacked, and a lot of these people know that. Like a lot of people say, well, we didn't vote for this dude Claude Schwab, but he's giving out all these advices and shit because that's what it is. American spirit, or the spirit of Egypt. That American spirit is failing in the midst thereof, because that lets you know it's failing. You don't have any rights, man. That's all a smoke screen. Even these presidents are selected; they're not elected. That whole voting process is a whole total bogus. These presidents are being selected before they get into office. So all that is a smoke screen. I'm gonna continue verse 17. Right, says, seeing thou hast Salakia, seeing thou hatest instruction and casteth my words behind thee. When thou saw a thief, then thou consented with him, and has been partaker with adulterers. Thou giveth thy mouth to evil, and thy tongue frameth deceit. So that's what it is, man. They speak evil, they speak wickedness. They tongue frame lies, man. Frameth deceit. A tongue is full of lies is the New Living Translation, right? I'm gonna read that. Your mouth is full of wickedness, and your tongue is full of lies, man. That's Esau Edom. That's what he just said. A mouth full of wickedness and lies, man. So that's because that's wicked. That same sex issue is wicked, and he just lied about the freedoms, man. I just showed you there, right, about the force mandatory things. His tongue is full of lies. The mouth is full of lies and deceit. So that's what you just showed, just demonstrated that right there in that one speech, right? So that American spirit is failing in the midst of Babylon, or in the midst of Egypt. So I'm gonna go here also, right? Psalms 119 chapter and 126 verse. It says, Psalms 119 verse 126. It says, it is time for thee, O Yahawah, by Hashem YAHAWAHSHI, to work, for they have made void thy law. So that's what Esau Edom done, man. He made void the law, statutes, and commandments of the Heavenly Father, man. That's why the spirit of Egypt, the constitutional rights, the Bill of Rights, the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That's why it's failing, because it's all based off wickedness, man. Esau, Edom run the world of wickedness. He's the border of wickedness, or the territory of wickedness, pursuing the Malachi, the first chapter and the fourth verse. He's the territory of wickedness, man. So he dwells in wickedness. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to this, which is the main point of this Isaiah the 19th chapter, right? Isaiah 19. We're gonna start at verse 1. It says, Isaiah 19:1, it says, on the burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst thereof. And I will set Egyptian against Egyptian, and they shall fight every one against his neighbor. Salakia. They shall fight every one against his brother, every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. Which you've seen that in the article, which it said that they united because of what? One common enemy. When the so-called terrorist attack happened in 9/11, that united the people to stand and fight against terror, supposedly, right? Which was a fabrication, inside job by the government. And this attack on the Pearl Harbor, that supposedly united the Native Americans, with Esau Edom and his government, and they put aside their differences, and they show what it says in the article. We are all one people, or we are all one. So they right now, this kingdom is divided, right? And I will set Egyptian against Egyptian, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. So, and it also talks about that in Mark, the 3rd chapter, and the 25th verse, right? 25th verse, 26th verse, a house divided shall not stand. Satan divided against Satan, shall not stand, but have an end. So that's that unity is departing, and the spirit, and you see that happen. It's a prophecy, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof. What is that spirit? The spirit of Egypt, that American spirit, which is based upon the constitutional values, the Bill of Rights, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, your freedom, your basically your rights, basically, right? Your First Amendment rights, the Second Amendment, and all the rights of the Constitution basically is being done away with. This government, doesn't have these rights. Just like this guy said, his mouth is full of lies. He go on there and say that you have rights. These are fundamental rights, but you don't have rights. You had a right to a healthy choice, or somehow he said it. But he's forcing these forced venom juice on the people. So that's all fabrication. That's all a lie. Verse 3 again, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to idols and to charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to wizards. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts, YAHAWAH YAHAWAHSHI. So you see that also. You see that characteristics of a cruel and fierce Lord in Biden, because he's telling the American people. I made a video on it before, right? That how there was this news station said that Biden. They said the American people think that Biden doesn't care about America. So that's that fierce and cruel Lord. He's having these that baby formula shortage issue, price, inflation. He's on what he say. He said that there was going to be a famine. There was going to be a food shortage, which is a famine, and it's real. He said it's going to be a real food shortage. He said that the American people going to deal with this gas prices, this gas price increase as long as it take, pertaining to the situation with Russia and Ukraine. He says the American people is gonna deal with it as long as it takes. Inflation is going up. It's like this guy doesn't care. That's that fierce and cruel Lord. He keep walking off when these reporters ask him questions. He just walks off like he take one or two questions and he picks the ones he want to talk to, and then he walks off. He doesn't acknowledge you people concerned, man. So that's that fierce and cruel Lord, right? Fierce and cruel king. So he portrays that against his people, man, against the Egyptians, these Babylonians, the Americans here, man, the Egyptians. So that's that spirit fell in the midst of Egypt, right? That's that wine of Babylon. Um, so I think I made a point. I hope it was edifying. Yeah, because the spirit of Egypt or the American spirit is fell in the midst thereof, man. So you seen that Constitution doesn't hold any weight. Those those um those constitutional rights are basically non and void, man. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end it off that. I want to say call halayim la Yahawah by Hashem, YAHAWAHSHI by Hashem, Rakakadash, Shalom. Till next time, Yahawah, Ratazah, which means Lord willing, and YAHAWAH, Abba, Babor, DTA soon.